Yeah. So if you'll see the yesterday class, if you see, we have seen the Delhi Sultanate, the establishment of Delhi Sultanate. What are the factors and how do the Delhi Sultanate be able to find in India? So Delhi Sultanate, why it was called Delhi Sultanate is it was ruled by the Muslim invaders, and they ruled in and around Delhi. They did not expand, except that, Malik Kafur, that is, he was the general of Alauddin Khilji. Yeah, except Alauddin Khilji's time, remain all the rulers. They try to rule themselves or enter India in northern part only. Hardly they focus on the South India. After the Alauddin Khilji, few rulers they focus on the South India, but they fail at that. So that's why it was popularly called as the Delhi Sultanate. In and around Delhi, Sultanate, the Muslim rulers. That word Sultan is the Muslim ruler. That's why it was called as the Sultanate. Okay, that's why it was called as popularly Delhi Sultanate, right? That we read. And how the Delhi Sultanate started? It was the Arab invasion. Okay, how there was a ruler, Hindu ruler of the Sindh. How he Dahir was the ruler, and how he plundered some of the wealth from that is none other than Mir Qasim, okay, Muhammad bin Qasim, how he was taking, and this Muhammad bin Qasim was the main person who was responsible for establishment of Delhi Sultanate in India. There was a war, 712 to 714. Then the Khalifa became the ruler, and then it just started the spread of Muslim or the Islam started in India. After that, we have seen that it was not ruling. They just started. After that, Ghazni, Muhammad of Ghazni, who came several times in India between 998 AD to 1038 30 AD. Within that time, he invaded India only for plunder or only for take all the wealth from India. And this Muhammad of Ghazni was popularly called as Mahmud. He made near about during his reign period near about 25 years. Okay, within 25 years, in and around 1025. Yeah, in 1025 he attacked last Somnath temple. So by that time, before that, he already attacked near about 17 times. He plundered India, he captured India, and only thing was to exploit or to take the Indian booty. Booty means that is none other than, yeah, Snehaji, welcome to the class. Okay, just we are recapping, Snehaji. Okay, so
Actually, there is
yeah.
some issue with my with this Zoom
Okay,
actually,
okay,
so I
it's
joined
not a
it.
problem. It's not a problem. No problem. Okay, so just we are recapping. Still we didn't go to the new part. Anyhow, after that, Muhammad of Ghazni, another ruler, that was Muhammad of Ghori. He was the real founder of Islam rule in India after the Battle of Tarayan. I told you, 1191 and 1192. These are the 2 years, Battle of Tarayan, and in that Battle of Tarayan, Prithviraj Chauhan, the Rajput ruler, he defeated, and then Muhammad of Ghori was the ruler. And this Muhammad of Ghori, after 1192, he ruled for a few years only, 1206. In 1206, he died. After his death, he had no son or the successor. As a result, he is one of the general. Qutbuddin Aibak became the ruler, and after Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish we have seen. After Iltutmish, we have seen that Rajia Sultan. But Rajia Sultan was also betrayed, and she was murdered. Then it was Rajia Sultan's, yeah. After the Rajia Sultan, these are all dynasty. Balban we have seen, but Balban is not related to these other things. Nadir Uddin, Nasiruddin Muhammad, youngest son of Iltutmish, became the. He made one conspiracy against the Rajia Sultan, and then he became the ruler. But unfortunately, he got his reward. He was means Nasiruddin was the son of Iltutmish. He made an conspiracy against Rajia Sultan by joining his hands with Ghiyasuddin Balban, and Ghiyasuddin Balban was a general. General in the sense they all are the slaves, we can say. That's why yesterday also I was talking that Indian historians, most of the Indian historians, they have written this period as a slave dynasty. But in fact, we should not remember that it is popularly called as a Ilbari dynasty, as they came from the Ilbar area kings, because they were belongs to the Ilbari Turk. Okay, so that's why it is the Ilbari dynasty. Anyhow, Nasiruddin, he ruled for few, just for near about 1246 to 1266. After that, Ghiyasuddin Balban became the ruler, and Ghiyasuddin Balban had liquid contribution for the development of Delhi Sultanate. After the Ghiyasuddin Balban, after this we read yesterday, and now today we are going to start Khilji. We unable to complete yesterday Khilji. Khilji dynasty, one of the most important dynasty in India. Let us complete little faster. Anyhow, record is going on, so no problem. Those who miss the class, they can listen that. Okay, chalo. Khilji. Today we are going to start Khilji. I will try to complete this Delhi Sultanate if it is possible today. So be careful and little bit concentrate. Don't divert the mind because I'm not repeating a single sentence. That is the problem. Chalo. I hope you are concentrating. Khilji. Khilji period is 1290 to 1320, we can see. Okay. 1290 with the dynasty of Balban came to end, and the throne was passed into the hands of Khiljis, right? Jalaluddin Khilji, the first king of Khilji ruler, an elderly man. Okay, he was a little bit age old man, and he unable to rule the country properly, but he had little bit contribution. During his reign period, he attacked by his nephew and son-in-law Alauddin. Okay, on Devgiri, in the Deccan, for the first time, he sent his nephew come son-in-law, uh, Alauddin. He went to Devgiri, and in Deccan, Alauddin defeated the ruler of Devgiri, and he returned with a huge amount of wealth. While this Jalaluddin was going to welcome Mr. Alauddin Khilji, unfortunately, Alauddin Khilji murdered his father-in-law, we can say, or uncle, and then he became the ruler. Okay, Alauddin Khilji, we can consider one of the greatest ruler of Delhi Sultanate was none other than Alauddin Khilji. Alauddin Khilji was famous for his Deccan expenditure. He made an expedition toward the south part. Very important that is. Okay, he had one general he got from Gujarat somewhere, and he was Malik Kafur, very trustworthy person of Alauddin, and under the leadership of Malik Kafur. Anyhow, we will discuss that in the his expeditions. Now let us briefly discuss about the life of Alauddin Khilji. He was the ablest and the most successful ruler of this Delhi Sultanate, the brilliant general, and he had a great dream also. Okay, if you'll see, he came to the power in 1296. He ruled till 1316. Please note down the years, that is better, helpful. Okay, his most important contribution to the Delhi Sultanate was none other than his migration or invasion to the South India. Immediate after coming to the power, Alauddin Khilji sent an expedition to Gujarat and conquer it along with Malwa. So that was one of the greatest. Gujarat, as a result, western part, southwestern part, completely came under his control. This fertile, populated land under his control, as a result, he able to get the good wealth, and as well as the resource also, right? That is none other than the revenue also he able to. Yeah, Aditi ji, welcome. So we are continuing Khilji, Mr. Aditi. So I hope you can continue with us. Chalo. That was one of the greatest achievement, we can say. Gujarat. After that, this he captured Ranthambore also in the few popular ruler in the Rajasthan. Okay. Next in 1301, he even captured the Chittor in the Mewar. So complete Gujarat and complete Rajasthan now under the control of Alauddin Khilji. So that was one of the greatest achievement in the life of Alauddin Khilji, we can say. So Gujarat, Ranthambore, Chittor, these all are the things in and around 13, not 3, he able to capture. The Rajputs, though they fought with Alauddin Khilji, but finally they defeated. They unable to sustain in front of Alauddin Khilji. In the complete Rajasthan, he able to bring under his control. That is one of the greatest achievement. So here Gujarat and Rajasthan along with the Delhi. Anyhow, is the Delhi Sultanate. We know that. Now we are discussing one of the important feature or the expedition of Alauddin Khilji toward the Deccan. He was the first Delhi Sultanate ruler who concentrated toward the south part. Before that, no one concentrated or dare or they don't want to expand toward the south due to several reasons. Okay. Anyhow, this person Alauddin Khilji, he tried to do that, and in 1306 and 7, Alauddin Khilji planned two campaign. First was against the Rai Karan, who was still holding a person of South Gujarat, number one. Second one, against the Rai Ramchandra, the ruler of Devgiri, who had been helping Rai Kiran. So his yearly tribute to all this fallen under the area. So he able to capture that. Along with that, he able to get one of the ablest general. He was none other than Malik Kafur, a slave from Gujarat. He captured Malik Kafur, who helped him a lot in his military campaign. Right. So Rai Ramchandra surrendered and taken into Delhi. His kingdom was rested under the Alauddin Khilji. After that, Alauddin Khilji campaign started towards south between 1309 to 1311 under the leadership of Malik Kafur. Led two campaigns. One was against the Kakatiyas of Warangal. Please remember, and if it is better, note down Kakatiyas of Warangal. So last before period between this downfall of Harshavardhan to beginning of Delhi Sultanate, I told one important point. Several times I repeated that also, that after the Harshavardhan, no Hindu ruler, or after the Harshavardhan, we can say 646 AD, of course, he died. After that, still the British rule. Still the British rule. Okay. British rule after 1857. Okay. Earlier, they tried to settle that 100 years, 1757 to 1857, they tried to establish or expansion of their empire. But after 1857, they brought entire India under their administration. So, during this period, what happened now? Entire India divided into small, small fragments. I told several times also. Cholas, Chalukyas, Kakatiyas, Hoysalas, Rashtrakutas, Dwarasamudras, okay, Pandyas, next, like that. Entire India divided into that. That was the main drawback of India for inviting the foreign rulers, even the Mongols, even the European rulers. So that was the main reason. So now Alauddin Khilji sent his campaign toward the Kakatiya of Warangal and the other against the Hoysalas of Dwarasamudra. These are the two South Indian important rulers, Kakatiyas of Warangal and Hoysalas of Dwarasamudra. Okay, and his army reached and he got success. Detail we are not going to discuss. This is only important, Kakatiya and Hoysala. Please note down, that is important, right? After that, he able to get good army, good resource, and all this. Anyhow, Malik Kafur was appointed as the Malik Naib, or the vice regent of this empire, right? After during this is one of the great achievement, we can say, Alauddin Khilji. And Alauddin Khilji's period also witnessed the invasion of Mongols. We saw before Chinggis Khan was the first who invaded during the Ilbari dynasty. We have seen that. So the same Mongols once again, knocked the door during this Alauddin Khilji's period. Between 1297 to 1304, they led 5 to 6 times. In and around 5 to 6 times, they tried to capture Alauddin Khilji's reign period. But as he was the strongest, powerful ruler, he able to control them. Under the Kultung Khan, they reached very gates of Delhi, but they defeated. Okay, Mongols defeated. That was the credit goes to Alauddin Khilji. Try to remember Kultung Khan. He was a Mongol who came to India during Alauddin Khilji. This is the important bit or the objective, we can say, right? Alauddin follows the, this is the military campaign or the wars and all this. And Alauddin Khilji also famous for interesting market system. Okay, his market system was followed by even the Mongols, and after the Mongol, some British government also praised the marketing system of Alauddin Khilji. Let us see a little bit important about the Alauddin Khilji's market system, how he able to control. The Mongol who settled down in Delhi during Jalaluddin's period and Alauddin Khilji, he mercilessly massacred the Mongols. That was another cruel activity of Alauddin Khilji, we can say. Now, marketing. If you'll see the marketing policy, he had a powerful and ambitious, and he was famous for his market. If you'll see, Alauddin Khilji had introduced three market system. Number one, for the in and around Delhi, because Delhi Sultanate only, no? So in and around Delhi, he established one food grain market, only for the food grains, one market. Second one for the animals, okay, like the horse, slaves, cattle rearing, and for that all, one market. And the third market was for the costly articles such as the important cloth or the gems, jewelries, and all this. So he's separated the market into three systems. And as like Napoleon Bonaparte, who standardized the measurement in Europe, okay, he also here in India, he standardized the measurement. No one can cheat, very severe punishment. Even it is some historians, okay, we cannot give witness, but some of the historians have mentioned in their book that if anyone cheated how much grams or any weightage, that much of flesh Alauddin Khilji used to cut from the body, and he used to give a punishment. Hand for, yeah, that was popularly called as hand for hand and eye for eye. This was the market system, which was some historians have mentioned that Alauddin Khilji followed the principles of hand for hand and eye for eye. Means very severe punishment he used to give for the cheating and all these things. Okay, so that's why he able to maintain a better market system, regulation in the weightage, and the yeah, these are other things, right? Even he was very particular about the land revenue and how much share they have to give. He was genuinely, he used to take it, okay, paid in kind and not in cash. Okay, that was one of the another thing, development we can see. And he was a little bit very strong to his yeah, spy system. Another most important, he was very good at his spy system. He had well arrangement as like Hitler, okay, as like Hitler and some other people. He also able to make the better spy system in India. He checking the corruption. He holders forbidden to levy taxes and all this. These are the great achievement we can say. Finally, we can say, we can remember Alauddin Khilji as a strong ruler for maintaining his vast empire, and few of the medieval rulers such as Osoka and yeah, some they also followed the principles of Alauddin Khilji. Sher Shah, Akbar, these all are the people. Yeah, Sher Shah, Akbar. Is like Osoka, he made a great development. Okay, but Akbar and Sher Shah and all these people, they followed the footprints of Alauddin Khilji. If you'll see, Alauddin Khilji, who was that much powerful, after his death, he died in and around 1316, 1316, yeah, 1316, he died. After his death, Maligapur became the ruler, but unfortunately, he unable to rule. People had more agony against this Malikapur, and people killed Malikapur. He Alauddin minor son was appointed as a ruler, but he was unpopular, and so this Khilji dynasty came in and with the killing of Malikapur as well as his younger small son in around 13 in and around 1340 19 near about 1320, they already killed. By 1320, we have to see another dynasty that was none other than Toghlaq dynasty. So far we completed two dynasty. One is related to the Ilbari dynasty, now Khilji dynasty. Now we are going to Tughlaq dynasty. Tughlaq dynasty is very simple. Without wasting more time or spending more detail, let us complete a little faster. Tughlaq dynasty, it is very popular also. Let us complete the Tughlaq dynasty. Am I okay? Yeah, I hope you are understanding. Simple. Without going little bit deeper, the main points we will concentrate on the Tughlaq dynasty. Very less points only. So Tughlaq dynasty, please note down the period of the Tughlaq dynasty between 1320 to 1444. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, the first Tughlaq ruler, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, the first ruler of Tughlaq, who killed that younger Malikapur and the younger son of Alauddin Khilji, as I told you. Then he conducted campaign in the Warangal, Odisha, Bengal, expanded his kingdom. He restored law and order, and finally he captured by killing this younger son of Alauddin Khilji, Delhi Sultanate. And he ruled very few years. 1320 he captured Delhi, but 1326 he died. He means Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. After the death of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. In the Tughlaq dynasty, he was the wisest person, but the fool ruler. We know that he made some experiments. Muhammad bin Tughlaq. I hope you have a little bit knowledge. Let us complete that. Muhammad bin Tughlaq ruled between 1326 to 1315. Please note down Muhammad bin Tughlaq. In the Tughlaq dynasty, this Muhammad bin Tughlaq only the important character. Okay, he ruled between 1326 to 1351, and during his period, we are able to see three experiments. During his period, we are able to see three experiments. What are the three experiments? Number one, he changed the capital from Delhi to Dolatabad, or the Dolatabad, or it was Devagiri also, it was called some historians. Second one, he wanted to change the gold coin into the copper coin. That was also like that. He made some experiment, but all the experiments were completely failure. How? And what are that? Let us see that three things. Okay, first of all, related to taxation on Doab. I hope you know that Doab, D-O-A-B, this is the fertile land between Indus and the Ganga. Fertile land between two rivers are called as the Doab region. Okay, that entire Punjab, Himachal, Haryana, okay, and some part of that Gujarat, and those all area where comes under the Doab region. So as it was a fertile land in the north, he increased the taxation, but unfortunately the people unable to give the tax, and it was a little bit a problem for them. As a result, that was gone in vain. He unable to raise more taxes. Number one, taxation in Doab. Okay. Second one was the most important, was called as the transfer of capital. Muhammad bin Tughlaq realized that he want to change the capital from Delhi to Deogiri. So all these sultans were ruling the Delhi. We know that. So now this Muhammad bin Tughlaq wanted to change the capital from Delhi to Devagiri, or some historian they are telling the Dolatabad, or whatever it may be, Delhi to Deogiri or Dolatabad. So that was he decided in 1327. This difference or distance between Delhi to Dolatabad was in and around, 1,500, near about 1,500 kilometers. Please concentrate here. The distance between Delhi to Dolatabad, 115, 1,500 kilometers, 1,500 kilometers. What he gave order, all the people who are residing in Delhi has to transfer to Dolatabad. And when they were migrating long distance, that was summer. During the summer season, he forced the people from migrating Delhi to Dolatabad along with their belongings and all this. My God, how he has taken that decision, we don't know, but it gave a lot of um, discontent and unable to maintain properly. And after reaching there, after ruling, most of the people on their way, they died due to lack of water, no proper facility, no proper transport. So many problems he faced. Okay, and most of the people they died. After reaching there, he realized that, oh, it's very difficult to rule the country from that distance to that is Central Asia, India, and all this. And North India, it is very difficult, and that South India, it was very close together. Once again, he realized his mistake and shifted to Delhi. Unnecessarily, he created a lot of misery and suffering to the people. That was the second failure. First failure, increasing taxation on the Doab region. Second failure, transformation of capital from Delhi to Devgiri. Third one, by the time they used to use the gold coins, then Mr. Tughlaq realized that let us change that gold into silver coin. Okay, silver copper coin, not silver, copper coin. So when he introduced the copper coin, people became more, yeah, conscious. And what did they do? They kept all the gold coin with them. Then every house at the last stage, within fraction of 2-3 months, every house there was a mint. Mint, MINT, mint. I hope you know the mint. That is none other than the making of the currency preparation, the machine for making of the or the preparation of currency. So everyone they prepare the currency. As a result, higher inflation. I hope you know that inflation sustained increase in the price level accompanied by the decreasing of the value of currency. So now, when every person able to print their own currency, there was no value of the currency. Inflation situation was faced by that time. So that was also failure. These are such type of experiment. Of course, he was failure in these experiment, but Tughlaq, Muhammad bin Tughlaq had a great contribution for uh, Islamic or the Sultan education. He appointed and encouraged the people who did not belong to the nobility. That was one of the great equality in the society. That was greatest effort or the contribution we can see. And he had a great contribution for the education. Okay, madrasa. I hope you know that madrasas for the Muslim people, women education. Such type of great things he did. Okay, and he empowered Bengal, Malabar, Tamil Nadu, Warangal, Karnataka, Awadh, Gujarat, Sindh, these all area he ruled. And there he introduced some sort of better experiment, right? And that was one of the greatest contribution we can see from Mr. Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Though he failed based upon few experiments, but he able to contribute socio-economic and education development in India during his period. Along with that, he also expanded towards Vijayanagar and Bahmani. As further south, Vijayanagar Empire, that is Harihar and Bukka, who has established that Krishnadeva Rayalu, who was the ruler. Yeah, up to that, he able to expand. That was one of the greatest contribution. Anyhow, after the Muhammad bin Tughlaq, another greatest ruler was none other than Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Firoz Shah Tughlaq. He came to power, please note down, he came to power 1315 to 1388. Firoz Shah, the cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, succeeded him in 1351. Firoz Shah Tughlaq also had a great contribution, right? And that same whatever started by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he continued that. He made an attempt to reconquer South India. He led campaign against the Bengal, Odisha, Kangra. Firoz Shah was very important contribution we can see. Different type of, he constructed number of buildings. Okay, he built many towns. There was a Firozpur in Punjab. We can find one Firozpur. Okay, Junapur and Firozabad in Uttar Pradesh. Hasipur in, that is Hisar, Haryana, and Hisar. Okay, Firoja or Hisar in Haryana. These all cities were established during this Firoz Shah, and he was a great builder also, right? He constructed the Firoz Shah Kotla, famous Delhi cricket ground also, in and around that Firoz Shah Kotla, that is none other than the fort. He made number of madrasas. He increased more than 50 madrasas. I hope what is madrasas, you know that madrasas, it is now also going on, government also sponsoring to them. That is none other than the Muslim education centers. Okay, so those are started by Mr. Firoz Shah. Okay, and during his time, he started some donation to the common people also. And another greatest contribution is during this Firoz Shah Kotla, number of Hindu religious books were translated from Sanskrit to Persian. Please note down this. Such type of questions they are asking, very important. Okay, the ruler who translated number of Hindu books into Persian during the Delhi Sultanate. That is a question. Okay, like that they may ask. So, number of Sanskrit Hindu traditional books or the religious books were translated into Persian during that time. Okay, he was not a bigot, bigot. Okay, he understanding the Hindus' ideas and practice. Many books of the music were also translated from Sanskrit into Persian during Firoza Tughlaq, one of the greatest ruler we can say. Okay, he had some problems. Let us not go to this lacuna and all this. After his during his time, one of the greatest thing happened. That was none other than migration of other people. Who were they? They were none other than the Taimur Ling. He ruled till 1388. After 1388, he maintained one bigger, Firoz Tughlaq maintained one bigger army, and he had a luxurious life as like the European rulers. Some historians, they mention that he maintained 1,80,000 slaves, and he introduced the property transfer from son to yeah, children. Children are the successor of the property, even in the position in the army also. As a result, what happened, there was some controversy among the people. Those who are the ablest people, they were unable to get a chance. Those who had ability to do the work or render the work, they were unable to get the chance. So these are the lacuna. Out of that, he unable to establish a strong ruler. Finally, after his downfall, within 10 years, okay, we able to see migration of the another group of people. They were from Turkey. Okay, they were none other than Taimur Ling. Okay, Taimur Lan or Taimur Ling. Please note down invasion of Taimur Lan. Timur or Taimur Lan. Tamarlane, Timur Lan. They came from the Turkey. He was the chief general of Asia, was a great conqueror. He came 1398, please note down, 1398, and he brought under his rule entire this south part of Asia, we can say, Syria, Jordan, present Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Israel, Iraq, Iran, entire Turkey. This all area he brought under control. Then he came to India. He entered India in 1398 and plundering number of wealth and destroyed so many things. His army reached Delhi, and then he mercilessly killed so many people in India, including women and children. Finally, he declared the establishment of that Timurling ruler. Okay, this was continued till 1412. In 1412, we able to see Timur's viceroy Khizr Khan and his successors ruled Delhi. So Taimur Lung or Taimur Lan, Taimur Ling or Taimur Lan. This is one of the ruler who came from Turkey and they ruled. After that, we able to see the last Delhi Sultanate ruler. They were none other than the Lodi dynasty. And this Lodi dynasty, we able to witness between 1451 to 1526. And this Lodi dynasty, they were the successor of Taimur Lan only. Okay, Taimur's viceroy Khizr Khan succeeded Delhi, and then they established the Lodi dynasty, we can say. Okay, in 1451, Bahalal Lodi, and after that, we can see the Ibrahim Lodi. They had Sikandar Lodi. Sikandar Lodi was ruled 1489 to 1517. Then Ibrahim Lodi 1517 to 1526. Among the Lodi
Hello.
dynasty. Hello.
Hello.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, children, Ibrahim Lodi, we can say he was the last Lodi ruler. He ruled between 1517 to 1526. In 1526, we know that from the Mongolia, Chagatai-i Babar, Okay, Babur, shortcut we are calling as a Babur. He came and there was a war between Ibrahim Lodi and Babur at Panipat, first two battle of Panipat. Then Ibrahim Lodi defeated and the Lodi dynasty came into, and not only Lodi dynasty, along with the Lodi dynasty, it was the Delhi Sultanate came into and with the battle of Panipat. The battle of Panipat witnessed the beginning of another medieval period that was none other than Mongol dynasty or Mughal dynasty. So this is class Delhi Sultanate. Then Ibrahim Lodi, and they had this Lodi dynasty had little bit less contribution, whether it is a literature or the development or the construction or whatever it may be. They had no much contribution because they faced a lot of expansion or the invasion during that time. Okay, so with this we are going to complete this Delhi Sultanate. Next, we are going to start with the Mughal dynasty, but we have time also. We are losing, ma'am. Ma'am, shall we join, ma'am?
Shall we
Just
join
1 minute.
again? Yeah.
Yeah, just 1 minute left over, I think.
Please join again.